Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
No.
Naturally.
I don't know the distance to the Van Allen radiation belt.
Naturally.
And
We used to.
if we did, it wasn't a problem.
Naturally.
Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication.
We destroyed that technology.
No.
Naturally.
We'll pass through the Van Allen belts,
Maybe we did.
an area of dangerous communication, radiation.
See things that we don't know.
Naturally, radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion.
This flash of light.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore.
Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice,
No.
once up and once back.
Space is not necessary.
But Orion has protection.
And it looked like it was on the moon, but
Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
I'm not sure.
Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
It's a painful process to build it back again.
No. With what we knew at that time, it looked like that would be difficult.
No. Space is not necessary.
Hey, Buzz. Are they gonna buy this? Are they? I hope so. Here we go. Oh boy. What did we do? Buzz, why'd you wear that blue suit? Thing's terrible. What are we here for again? Psst, who the heck are you? Where am I? Buzz, why'd you wear that blue suit? Thing's terrible. What are we here for again? Psst, who the heck are you? Where am I? Why are they taking our picture? Do you know? What the heck is going on here? Buzz, why the blue suit? Buzz, what are we even doing here? Do you know Pinhead? They sure took a lot of pictures. Buzz, what's up with the blue suit, dude? Just say we went to the moon. Yeah.
I've watched it on TV. To be in the room when something like this happened, it wasn't just the American leadership that watched it on TV. Leaders from all around the world watched it on TV. And of course, populations from all around the world watched it on TV. Newspapers tomorrow morning, and of course in social media today, online, in the newspapers, watched it on TV. So what an amazing day for our country. But it's not just people all around the world watched it on TV. People off the world have seen it, and they have some things they'd like to say.
Yeah, we watched it on TV.
Dirty image.
Thank you. I had the privilege to watch
On TV.
the landing with our science and instrument teams on
TV.
InSight.
On TV.
So it was amazing watching
On TV.
with the scientists and the engineers that have devoted many years of their life to watching InSight
On
land
TV.
and see it actually land successfully.
On TV. I've watched it on TV.
Looking into the interior of Mars.
I've watched it on TV.
Why should we all care about this? I know it's exciting, but why should we all care? What do we expect to get out of digging into Mars?
TV.
Okay, so the reason why we're digging into Mars is really just to better understand not just Mars, but the Earth itself. And wonder at the dirty image.
On TV.
Several hundred years ago in 1610, Galileo took the first telescope and pointed it up in the sky, and he saw Jupiter. And he noticed over the course of a couple of days that the stars nearby Jupiter were moving into different positions each night. And somehow He figured out by that fact that they must be orbiting Jupiter. And it was a revelation. And it changed our culture and our perspective of ourselves forever. Earth was not the center. Earth was not the center.
Earth was not the center. And he imagined this.
And he imagined this.
And he imagined this.
And he imagined this. And after that, for centuries, we have imagined.
We have imagined. We have imagined.
We have imagined
how the planets move and how the stars move. And we've only been aided with computer animation or the efforts of Hollywood.
Of Hollywood.
Of Hollywood.
And we've only been aided with computer animation or the efforts of Hollywood.
Can we get that animation, please?
That animation, please.
That animation, please.
That animation, please.
Movie.
Movie.
It comes to my mind that I've had my whole life that I'm hoping we get an answer to is, how'd we get here? How'd we get here?
How'd we get here?
How'd we get here?
So that rocked. Seriously.
So that rocked. Seriously.
Does that not cool or what?
Does that not cool or what?
Woo! 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 Woo!
But we were young and stupid, and how much everybody deserves this great success we've had. Say something profound.
I am terribly humbled by this experience. Secretly, that's the big payoff, secretly.
Soup to nuts.
Forever.
And after that, for centuries, we have imagined.
Forever.
We have imagined.
Forever.
We have imagined how the planets move and how the stars move.
And because of that, I say the state of NASA is strong.
When you come in from a spacewalk, you're surrounded by the emptiness of space. It's sort of like the opposite of air. There's nothing there at all. When you quickly repressurize the hatch and you open up the hatch and you smell, what is that lingering smell from a place that used to be exposed to space? The smell in there is a little bit like that trace of a smell of gunpowder or burnt steak, or sort of like brimstone, like a witch has just been there. It's a cool, lingering trace of a smell. I think what it really is, brimstone, like sort of that metallic gunpowder-fired smell, that a witch has just been there. In truth, it smells a little bit like a witch has just been there.
Back to what I was saying about, if you notice the screen behind me, that's the path of the ISS. I mean, that's official. And look at the shape of the screen. It's flat. Check. 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 All right, we're almost done with our pre-launch checklist here.
National Kate Rubins and Jeff Williams now with Google Workstation of the National Space station operating the station's robotic arm, moving through the procedures for dragon capture. They are preparing for moving the arm into...
The one you've just been playing, the one you're carrying inside your rusty innards. Just you reconsider playing that message for him. And no more of this Obi-Wan Kenobi gibberish. You're fortunate he doesn't blast you into a million pieces right here. No, I don't think I can make it. I'm done for. I can't abide those Jawas. Disgusting creatures. I would much rather have gone with Master Luke than stay here with you. I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. You watch your language. Nobody worries about upsetting a droid. What are you talking about? How rude! Did you hear that?
So which one of you is ready to go to Mars? Are you ready?
We are absolutely ready to go to Mars.
Who's ready to go to Mars up there? And I think you're ready. I know you're ready, right?
But we destroyed that technology.
The rocket equation.
His name is Ralph, man.
She was a woman.
Oh, yeah, that would be disastrous.
She'd like to go to Mars very quickly.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to.
Epic achievement.
And it's a painful process to build it back again.
The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
We just discussed that. She'd like to go to Mars very quickly.
It would kill everyone on Earth.
On behalf of Ripley, Little Earth, myself, and our crew, welcome to the Crew Dragon.
Nope.
Congratulations to all of the teams who made yesterday's launch and today's docking a success.
Nope.
These amazing feats show us not how easy our mission is, but how capable we are of doing hard things.
Nope.
Welcome to the new era in spaceflight.
Nope.
So I'm going to back up here just so you can see it again where we are. So there's Chicago, Shed Aquarium to the, what was that called, photography point, peninsula or whatever. 4.21 miles. So from left to right in this picture, it's approximately 5 miles. Doesn't really matter. So what I did was I edited and I kind of made it wider, and I did it again. There's 3 cities there now, but you get the point. What I'm trying to do is zoom out, because if you zoom out, you got to realize the angular size of this city went from the other side of the lake. It's like the size of a pin. So it has to, you have to magnify it. So as you zoom out, we have our 4 miles in the center there, 5 miles. And then you can keep adding that up, and this is even, we wouldn't even be able to see this with our eyes from the other side of the lake. So what I'm saying is, from left to right, there's many miles that are visible, and it's a perfectly straight line. So I wanted to figure out why videos like this can happen, why people see boats disappearing from the bottom side up. So I set my camera up on a road that is very flat, very long, very straight. And I'm going to show you the footage of me walking about a quarter mile away from my camera and then walking back towards it. First, I'm going to show you zooming out from what we're going to be looking at. Picture the Chicago skyline from across the lake being that car. And just watch as we zoom out how small that gets. So remember our 5 miles left to right? How many miles do you think we can actually see of the shoreline left to right with our own eyes as we zoom out? So I'm going to walk away from the camera 8 times faster than I really did. And we will just watch. Notice as I walk away how I'm shrinking and how my head appears to be going downward. Notice the reflection, and then notice the bottom of my feet not really visible. Probably up to my knees almost, or my waist. Okay, now I turned around and I'm coming back. So since it's clear, observable, and undebatable that we do get a straight line left to right, unlike this red line on your screen, images like this, or this, or this, or this, or videos like this are not happening because of any kind of curvature. They're happening because the ocean has waves and swell, and there's a lot of water in the air. Water is always level and flat at its surface when contained. Okay, it's time for me to demonstrate a universal problem with spheres. They curve uniformly, meaning any point that you're on a sphere would be the top, and then as you look out to the distance, it should drop off, similar to what this board is doing that I made. And I did this to demonstrate something. Okay, off in the far there we have a sailboat, and then this pink styrofoam here is the same height as the mast on that sailboat. And then this is our third sailboat. It doesn't look like a sailboat, it looks like a board, but I made a little slot in there, and my iPhone actually slides right in there, just like that. And then I can slide the board. Now, the reason why I have these here is because I'll show you the camera height at the, it's close enough to the top of that styrofoam. So, that other boat, obviously, this boat cannot see the other boat till we sail up further, and then it starts to come up over the curvature, right? Okay? There's a reason why I want to show you that. Now here's the problem with spheres. If I measure, let me get my tape measure. From boat to boat, we have about 64 inches or so. 64 inches. So then, let's take and go about the center of the two boats, and let's take our third boat and put it over here at 32 inches. Okay, and I can probably show you that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, you won't be able to see it, but it's right at 32. Now, here's the problem. See the boat? See the boat? And those two boats can't see each other. I can see both those boats, they can't see each other. So, here's the problem. On a sphere, if you're equal distant from a point, like I am with these two boats, the amount of curvature that it would be the same up to that same center point where the level is right now that we're looking at, where the bubble is. So we each have 32 inches from that. They can't see each other, but I can see them both. Now, the scale on this doesn't matter, because a sphere is a sphere is a sphere is a sphere. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is, how big my toy boats are. It makes no difference. Obviously, the curvature of the Earth, if it were so, it would be not nearly what I have here. This is exaggerated big time. But all we have to do is, the point I'm making is that we have the idea that curvature like this is what's causing boats to disappear as they sail away. Well, that happens in a very short distance. So what I'm saying is that if I can sit right here at our 32 inches, I'm on the same alleged water that they are on, yet do you see in the center, right below the yellow level, what is the ground doing there? See that curve? See that curve? That curve doesn't exist on the Earth. And it doesn't matter the size of the sphere. What I'm saying is that boat can't see that boat because of the curvature. So let's put that as into a real world situation. If I went to the ocean and I looked all the way to my left and I see a boat off in the distance, and then all the way on my right I see another boat off in the distance. Between those boats is much more than 6 miles. And if you were on one of those boats, you might not be able to see the other boat. But I can do a point-to-point visual observation and see that that curve, let me back up, that curve doesn't ever exist. The water follows that, I'm going to probably put it on the bottom of the screen. The water follows like this, like a straight line. And these boats are covered up from each other. What it proves to me is that it's not a logical way of thinking to think that a boat's going to disappear and that you're going to be able to see that disappear, and that's actually curvature, because you would have to be able to see the curvature from this point of view, because from left to right I can see, who knows, 100 miles. And so those boats could be real far from each other and not see each other, but I can see them. And if you've ever been to the ocean, it's a straight, flat line, and you can even take a level, put it on a stand, set it up at the ocean, and you will see that it is a perfectly straight line all the way across your view, proving that we've all been fooled, and the curvature of the Earth is a joke. It does not exist. Otherwise, we would see it. Have a good one. There's about 10 miles or so in between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And where my drone is about 25 miles north of Minneapolis. So that's what the buildings look like from 25 miles away. So when we zoom back out and we see our 10 miles, and if we add up just on the screen here from left to right, it's about 100 miles. But that's at that 25-mile distance that it's about 10 miles. And we can see beyond some of that. So when we see our 10 miles from here to here, when we zoom out, it's about 100 miles. Now, one could argue that it could be far more than 100 miles left to right. But we have actual physical objects giving us approximate distances about 25 miles away. So at about 25 miles away from left to right, there's about 100 miles on the screen here. So in 100 miles, there is about 666 feet of curvature. The tallest building in the Minneapolis skyline is 770 feet. That's the IDS tower. So this red line should be curved up to the top of the IDS tower, which it is not. Earth is flat, and this is easy to prove and easy to observe. Let's be real for a minute. The stars are moving. They're all moving the exact same way. And yes, it's the stars that are moving, not the ground. Look up. See? They're moving. The whole sky is moving. Here's Pleiades moving. We can see this stuff good now. Here's Pleiades a little closer, moving. See? The sky is a dome. It turns above the earth. Look.
And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said,
Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the 4th day. And the evening and the morning were the 3rd day. And God said,
Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day.
And in those days the angels will gather together, and will throw themselves towards the east. Upon the Parthians and Medes they will stir up the kings, so that a disturbing spirit will come upon them, and they will drive them from their thrones. And they will come out like lions from their lairs, and like hungry wolves in the middle of their flocks. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And the land of my chosen ones will become before them a tramping ground and a beaten track. And in those days Sheol will open its mouth, and they will sink into it and their destruction. Sheol will swallow up the sinners in front of the faces of the chosen. And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of chariots with men riding on them. And they came upon the wind from the east and from the west to the south.
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
And the sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when this occurred, the holy ones observed it from heaven, and the pillars of the earth were shaken from their foundations, and the sound was heard from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven throughout the day. And all will fall down and worship the Lord of spirits. And this is the end of the second parable.
Finally, the raid finally stopped. It's a good thing too because I want the sun to come out. I'm about to wake Oscar up and show him this picture of water. Yeah, that's right. I want to show him this water and how flat the surface of it is. And it's a good thing because I know that Oscar's not grouchy on Saturdays.
Hey, Oscar! Hey, take a look at this! Oscar! I got something to show you! Oscar!
What? I wanted you to see how flat this water was in this picture.
Hey, Telly, I'm a grouch.
So?
So? I don't like things that are beautiful. I don't like being bothered for no reason at all.
Yeah, but you would like something I just learned about the water. It's flat.
Why should I like to look at the water?
Because
God made water to be level at its surface.
I don't care about stuff like that.
No?
No. There's no reason for a grouch to care about water.
Yes, there is. There's lots of reasons.
Come on. Why should I care about water? Telly, go away.
But this is something God showed us, and it's true. And he wouldn't have showed us unless it was important. And it is important because it's true. And you're believing lies.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So, listen, who cares?
Well, look, Oscar, I'm only showing you because I care a lot about you.
No, and no!
Oh. So, does that mean you don't want to look at the picture of air I collected? Huh. I'll take that as a no.
50 years ago, we went to the moon. We called it Apollo. Apollo.
What many people don't know is that Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis, goddess of the moon.
We are returning to the moon.
As a new generation of explorers.
This time to stay.
And to prepare to achieve humanity's next giant leap of sending the first human missions to Mars.
We believe our course will redefine what is possible.
That we would discover life-saving,
earth-changing science.
And that the challenges ahead will inspire generations.
This is our manifest.
For all who wondered if we could return.
But we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
For all who dreamed of pressing beyond.
This is your calling.
We go for all of America.
We go. We go. We go. We go as the Artemis generation.
We go. We go. We go. We go. We go.
I'll go.
Hey man, how far you going, man? Oh, right here it'd be fine, man.
Is necessary to transport a large number of people and cargo to Mars in order to create a self-sustaining civilization there.
Thanks for having me. So this is the Dragon that goes up into space, right?
Yeah, that's our Dragon spacecraft, or version 1, which is capable of taking cargo to and from the space station.
So when do human beings start going up in it, do you think?
So we expect to complete version 2 of Dragon, which will have astronaut transport capability.
And most of what you do now is send satellites up into space, right? That's how you pay the bills.
Exactly.
But you want to do something much more ambitious with SpaceX.
Yeah, I mean, the long-term aspiration is to develop the technologies necessary to transport a large number of people and cargo to Mars in order to create a self-sustaining civilization there. In order to create a self-sustaining civilization there. And that's really why I started the company, was because it seemed as though...
To create the possibility for life on other planets. to create the possibility for life on other planets. To create the possibility for life on other planets.
Yeah, exactly.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. If when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet, and warn the people, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet, and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head.
And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of chariots with men riding on them. And they came upon the wind from the east and from the west to the south. And the sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when this occurred, the holy ones observed it from heaven, and the pillars of the earth were shaken from their foundations, and the sound was heard from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven throughout the day.
In this abyss of darkness.
You get that type of perspective. You see the fact that this is a complicated system that is subject to a lot of influences that is going on all the time. One of the influences that is affecting Earth itself, of course, is the beings that are living on it. Volcanoes erupting, but also the plant life and the animal life. We're obviously changing the climate at a global level. The key is, who is going to be the person that's going to decide to change something?
Who? You ever read this? There's a story in there.
We can't wait for some other person to change it. They don't have the imperative to do it, especially if they're someone that we elected. If we elected, they're just our representative, and the real motivation comes to each of us individually. That's who has to make the change.
And that's the kind of thinking that leads to destruction. Soon.
You can't say they, or him, or her, or it.
No, you can. You can say him. Jesus. The only way.
It's us, or me, or I that has to make the change.
Nope.
And it's not going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfect.
And it's going to have to get a little bit critical.
Yes.
Before people are truly going to feel enough pain or enough compunction to actually change what they're doing.
Oh, maybe you have read this. That's what it says in here. "In the same hour was there a great earthquake, and a 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. And the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to the God of heaven."
And things are going to get worse before they get better.
Things are going to get worse before they get better.
But I'm confident this isn't the end of the world.
Yeah, don't be so confident.
This is just a problem that we're facing.
No, not facing. Making. And you're at the center of the whole problem. What you and your organization do.
Get thee hence, Satan. For it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve.
My name is Emily, and my question is, how does it feel to know that you are floating in a piece of metal in an endless void?
Get thee hence, Satan.
And realize that we're on this very special place, and this precious island in this abyss of darkness, in this abyss of darkness, in this abyss of darkness, in this abyss of darkness.
And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
Concludes the test. Propulsion system safety completed nominally.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
And then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, and times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
All right.
That's all a lot easier in 0G, by the way. So there you have it. So Dragon version 2, capable of carrying up to 7 astronauts, propulsively landing almost anywhere in the world, and something that's designed, as I said, to be fully reusable. So you can fly this multiple times, allowing for potential dramatic reduction in the cost of access to space. Thank you.
You can ignore this dragon if you want. Most Christians do. They sleep right through the scriptures and the visions given to the prophets of the time that we live in. So if I were you, I would pay attention and take heed.
Stick something in your brain. You want it to not be giant. You want it to be tiny. Yeah. You won't feel a thing. And this is what the robot looks like. It's sort of quite a complex device, but it all comes down to a very tiny point. So just we want to just like you see the robot on the left, and then the what looks like the needles for insertion next to a penny, but in fact the actual needle that gets inserted is way tinier. It's that little tiny thing at where the arrow is pointing.
This is the only place that humans have outside of planet Earth where humans can live. And if you like, down there on Earth, you can actually see it with your naked eye. You just go to the ISS website and it tells you when to see us. You can look up in the sky and you will see this bright little star moving over the sky.
Enoch chapter 18 verses 13 through 15. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains. And to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven." And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years.
And here we are, 6 humans on the International Space Station, the embassy of humankind out in space, continuing an 18-year uninterrupted human presence on this fantastic laboratory. And you can look up in the sky.
whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. When they behold the beast,
you can look up in the sky and
they behold the beast.
You will see this bright little star.
They behold the beast
moving over the sky.
They behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.
You can see that on many, many nights, and if you see it, think about that humans actually built this. That
and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder.
There are right now 6 humans, soon only 3 humans up here, out of the 7 billion humans that live down on Earth. So
when they behold the beast,
give these guys a wave when you see them.
When they behold the beast, 5 are fallen, and 1 is.
I saw in my vision by night, and behold another beast, a second, like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. To this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
The great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. And everybody knows historically, Alexander's huge kingdom was divided up between his four generals.
Right now, 150 meters per second. Slightly below nominal.
Toward the four winds of heaven.
Wherever one.
The four top generals each took a section, and the kingdom broke up into four regions. Toward the four winds of heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn.
A kilometer. Trunk deploy.
Which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land, probably toward Israel.
Jugs look good.
It waxed great, even to the host of heaven. To the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground. So obviously this is not an earthly king now. This is talking about a satanically motivated person, because
and then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo and ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary.
So this now has become, I think, a satanic, probably the devil. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
We're here to unveil Dragon version 2, and it'll be capable of carrying 7 people, 7 astronauts.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and it cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God, and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place. For the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty. But they made the images of their abominations and of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them.
On behalf of Ripley, Little Earth, myself, and our crew, welcome to the Crew Dragon. Congratulations to all of the teams who made yesterday's launch and today's docking a success. These amazing feats show us not how easy our mission is, but how capable we are of doing hard things. Welcome to the new era in spaceflight.
Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. And it came to pass after this that I saw another host of wagons and men riding thereon, and coming on the winds from the east and from the west to the south. And their noise of their wagons was heard. And when this turmoil took place, the holy ones from heaven remarked it, and the pillars of the earth were moved from their place, and the sound thereof was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the earth and the firmament of heaven.
Stage 1, entry burn has started. Side boosters are transonic. Side booster landing burn has started. Side booster landing legs have deployed. Landing zone. Side boosters have landed. Recovery operators move into procedure 11.100 LZ1, sections 4 and 5. Center core landing legs have deployed.
This is recovery. Center core has landed. Landing operators move procedure 11.100 on ECF 9 net.
So they build a little tin can and they put it on a rocket and they blast it up to some blackness of darkness where there's no birds, no air, no water, no food, no life. And they start building it up piece by piece, sending rockets, or actually the shuttle, sending the shuttle up piece by piece. Solar arrays, the Canadarm, all these modules and laboratories, they call them. It's a deception. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying we all, NASA included, and everybody working at NASA and SpaceX and every space agency that exists are being deceived. They aren't the deceivers. They're being deceived. The people in this world who are bearing witness to a specific truth that they did not see just 5 or 6 years ago have uncovered something, and it should be looked at very carefully. For the past almost 20 years, in reality, we have had a wandering star, or you could call it the space station. But from the ground, we witness for 20 years now a wandering star over the Earth that is on a specific, precise schedule. And you can go outside and look up in the sky at the right time and you can watch it fly over your head. 20 years we've had that. And before that, we didn't have that. They say they went to the moon. That's a whole different story. But going to the moon and all of these space endeavors has come to this point. Here's where we are now in 2019, where we have a world full of people that believes that there is a man-made machine up in heaven. Because if we go back to square one, what we know is that there's the Word of God. Some of us don't believe that, some of us do believe that. But in the Word of God, at the end of days, there was an 8th wandering star in the heavens. And there used to be only 7. I'll explain what I mean. Enoch was shown this place, and he was shown the 7 planets or wandering stars, and it was explained to him that they were in a prison for the stars in the host of heaven, and that they would be there imprisoned till judgment, and that from there they would be deceiving and defiling mankind. And then in Revelation, John was shown a vision of what the world would be like at the end of days. And in his vision, an angel took him away in the spirit to a wilderness, which I believe is this blackness of darkness. And John did see the same 7 mountains, or wandering stars. Enoch called them mountains. John saw those same 7 mountains. But in John's vision at the end of days, there was an 8th mountain. And it was the beast that was deceiving the whole world. And the story keeps going. This beast was given his power from a dragon. The dragon gave the beast its power, seat, and great authority. SpaceX Dragon happens to resupply this International Space Station. Now this is a Russian launch of a Soyuz rocket that we're watching right now. That is the only transportation for astronauts to travel up to this space station. In Revelation, the beast that John saw getting his strength and power from the dragon also had the feet of a bear. And if we look at this space station, the only way an astronaut can get to the space station is on a Russian Soyuz, because NASA has not put an astronaut in space since the shuttle was abruptly shut down. The shuttle program was retired in 2011. It's 2019, and an astronaut has not been put in space by NASA since 2011. That's 8 years. NASA has not had the capability to put an astronaut in space for 8 years. That should be something that people think about when NASA's getting $56 million each. So yes, the space station has the feet of a bear. Russia. In Isaiah 14, it says that Lucifer has it in his heart to ascend into heaven and to exalt his throne above the stars of God. So I say, Lucifer says in his heart, I will ascend into heaven. NASA says on their mission statement, we will ascend into heaven. On the screen right now is a shot from the ground of Dragon. And in Revelation 13, John saw a beast coming up out of the earth. What's on the screen right now? And he saw this same beast making fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That couldn't be landing rockets, could it? In Revelation 7, John saw an angel saying to 4 other angels that were holding back the 4 winds of heaven to not let loose the winds until the servants of God get sealed in their foreheads. What are the 4 winds of heaven? Well, Enoch saw the treasuries of the winds. And what the 4 winds of heaven are the pillars of heaven. They hold up the heavens. They bear the heaven and the firmament of heaven. The 4 winds. In Revelation 12, John saw war in heaven. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. In Revelation 12, John sees Satan, who he calls the dragon, fighting with Michael and his angels. Just think about that. There were 4 angels holding back the 4 winds of heaven. And when they loose those winds, it's going to hurt the earth and the tree and the seas and all of that. Is dragon on your screen here? Is this fighting the four winds of heaven, or the angels that are holding back the four winds of heaven? I think so. I'm trying to point out to you that you're watching it on your screen. This is war in heaven. John saw it already and wrote it down. Very specifically, he even gave us the name that Satan would be using. Dragon. The four winds of heaven. So then Enoch saw what happened because of this. In Enoch chapter 57. Enoch chapter 57. And it came to pass after this that I saw another host of wagons, and men riding thereon, and coming on the winds from the east, and from the west to the south. And the noise from their wagons was heard. And when this turmoil took place, the holy ones from heaven remarked it, and the pillars of the earth were removed from their place. And the sound thereof was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. There really isn't too much left to say. We're watching it happen. Right now on the screen, there is video from inside one of the fairings simply falling back to Earth. So it's just falling. This is the air that's making that plasma and those sparks. This is just one fairing half. There's the parachute. Here is stage separation of a Falcon Heavy, and that is the war in heaven we're watching with our eyes. Revelation 17 verse 16 says, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Isaiah 5 verse 14 says, Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. Isaiah 14 verse 9 says, Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. So if this space station potentially was the beast, and we see Dragon on the screen going up to give it its power, and then now we're going to see it coming back down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, that would be Revelation 13 verse 13. If the space station was the beast, are you worshiping it? Do you believe in it? Do you wonder at it? Revelation 17 verse 8. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder when they behold the beast. If this is the beast that we have built over the last 20 years, being deceived by these evil spirits in the sky, the planets, and the fallen angels up in the bottomless pit, could this be the mystery of God being revealed?
During the space age, we have increased the knowledge of our universe 1,000-fold.
But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
And for people all over the world, I am sure that they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is.
Apollyon.
Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world.
Apollyon.
And as you talk to us from the sea of tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to earth.
For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one.
Apollyon.
One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to earth.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. 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 Apollyon.
I look back on those days now of landing on the moon, and I try and put myself in the position of the historians, maybe even off into the future, that look back and see that it was an international challenge and response that prompted the president to chart a course for this nation to go there. And but getting to some specifics, I'm aghast that just almost exactly 6 years to the day after we left the Earth to go to the moon and land, we launched a mission that in essence gave the Soviets the ability to say that they're equal to us technically, and then we proceeded in the next 6 years not to even fly one human in space. And I think it's going to be inconceivable when future historians look back and see that what a tremendous capability was put together by one nation, and then it was sort of set aside and laid to rest.
And reminding us once again of the power and consequence of celestial extracurricular activities.
Apollyon.
Many Americans were part of Apollo.
Apollyon.
About 1 or 2 in each 1,000 citizens, all across the country. They were asked by their country to do the impossible, to envisage, to design, and to build a method of breaking the bonds of Earth's gravity.
Apollyon.
And then sally forth and visit another heavenly body.
Apollyon.
The principal elements, leaving Earth, navigating in space, and descending to a planet unencumbered with runways and traffic controls, would include the major requirements necessary for a spacefaring people.
Apollyon.
Today, a space shuttle flies overhead with an international crew. Today we have with us a group of students among America's best. To you we say, we have only completed a beginning. We leave you much that is undone. There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers. One of truth's protective layers.
Just a day before he died, President Kennedy compared our space program to a boy who comes upon a wall in an orchard. The wall is tall, it looks insurmountable, but the boy is curious about what lies on the other side. So he throws his cap over the wall, and then he has no choice but to go after it. Well, 25 years ago today, our nation, represented by these 3 brave men, made that climb. And so today we are gathered to celebrate their voyage, and I honestly hope to recommit ourselves to their spirit of discovery. Apollo, their spirit 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were our guides to the wondrous, the unimaginable at that time, the true handiwork of God. They realized the dreams of a nation. They fulfilled an American destiny. They taught us that nothing is impossible if we set our sights high enough.
And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Today we're honored to have them and all the other Apollo astronauts who are here with us. For every American who followed your journey, especially for those of us who were young on that fateful day 25 years ago, and for the young Americans who still dream dreams of a future in space, we thank you all. Looking back on that mission, one thing is clear that we ought to remember today. It wasn't easy. The ship to the heavens measured just 13 feet in diameter.
Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it. And every one that sweareth shall be cut off, as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts. And it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof.
The destination was 3 days and a world away. On the third day, as the tiny module descended to the moon, it came dangerously close to a crash landing. That happens around here all the time. But Neil Armstrong took over the controls from the computer and landed safely. Man had not been rendered obsolete by the mechanical, and that hasn't happened yet. Not long after that, when he stepped on the moon, Mr. Armstrong marked the outer limit of the human experiment with those simple words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Apollyon.
These men and the other astronauts who came before and after have helped us to step into another world right here on Earth. They've shown us that we can harness the technology of space in areas from the economy to the environment to education to information and technology. The products and knowledge that grew out of our space missions has changed our way of life forever and for the better.
Apollyon.
And in our quest, we have relearned a sense of confidence that has always been an essential ingredient of our American dream. Today, that journey continues. Our commitment to the space program is strong and unwavering. The best way to honor these men and all the others who have helped us so much
Greetings from the International Space Station.
No.
I'm NASA astronaut Nick Hague, along with my NASA crewmate, Christina Cook.
No.
As we conduct world-class research on this orbital laboratory,
No.
we are also celebrating the 50th anniversary of humankind's most epic achievement, Apollo 11's historic lunar landing and the first footprints on another celestial body by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin.
No.
And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
As we think back on this achievement 50 years ago,
We remember the drive and sacrifice by the flight teams, engineers, astronauts, and many others that allowed the dream of Americans landing on the moon by the end of that decade to become a reality.
No.
At that moment, the world was one.
No.
Awestruck by that accomplishment.
No.
And God said,
"Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth."
And it was so.
We are in that time again as we approach the 20th anniversary of a permanent human presence on the International Space Station.
No.
Working hard to return humans to the moon in 2024 through the Artemis program.
No.
We've learned so much more about human spaceflight since Apollo 11.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
So which one of you is ready to go to Mars? Are you ready? And I think you're ready. I know you're ready, right? We just discussed that. She'd like to go to Mars very quickly. Who's ready to go to Mars up there?
We are absolutely ready to go to Mars.
We've learned how to build laboratories in space. We've learned how to work and how to live in space, paving the road for future deep space exploration.
And then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo and ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary.
Let's talk.
The legacy of the Apollo program is enduring and will guide us on our future endeavors in space. So, on behalf of the crew of the International Space Station, we hope you'll join us in celebrating the 50th anniversary of that giant leap for all mankind.
We stand on the shoulders of giants that came before us.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon, Apollyon.
Apollo.
As we look towards the next giant leap on our endless journey to the stars.
No.
We also spoke about the new BFR, short for a big effing rocket that is under development by SpaceX and which will be the rocket that is expected to start carrying humans to Mars, as it has made space once again very exciting to the world.
SpaceX has upended the rocket industry, as you know, and managed to become one of the most valuable private companies in the process. It tops CNBC's just released Disruptor 50 list. Morgan Brennan got a rare and exclusive look inside the company, sat down with a woman who's helping to carry out Elon Musk's vision, and joins us this morning from SpaceX headquarters in California. Hi again, Morgan.
Hi, Carl. Good to see you. So this is a company that Gwen Shotwell, COO and president of SpaceX, says is now valued at about $28 billion. Now, I sat down with her for an exclusive interview inside this building behind me. This is SpaceX's rocket factory. It was a rare interview. It covered everything from SpaceX's ambitious plans for human space travel to the business model that is enabling this company to carry out the vision. The satellites. You recently won FCC approval for a constellation of thousands of broadband satellites.
Dragon is a very sophisticated satellite, and we have our own launch capabilities. I think we'll be able to emplace a constellation that could be quite successful.
This vision to see rocket launches that are as regular as airliner flights.
You're a neuroscience company, and you're working to build basically an interface to the brain.
Thousands of broadband satellites.
Interface to the brain.
Yeah. Electrode to neuron interface at a micro level.
And we have our own launch capabilities.
Okay, what is it? Like, I'm gonna have like a plug in my head that's gonna fit into a hard drive? Like, okay, what is it? Like, I'm gonna have like a plug in my head that's gonna fit into a hard drive? Like, or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
I think we'll be able to emplace a constellation that could be quite successful.
Or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
The vision.
Or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Vision to see rocket launches that are as regular as airliner flights.
And so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves.
Thousands of broadband satellites.
And so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves.
I think we'll be able to emplace a constellation that could be quite successful.
And so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves, it would actually make everyone hyper smart.
Dragon is a very sophisticated satellite.
Do you believe in God?
I believe there's some explanation for this universe, which you might call God.
When will I be able to get the interface implant?
They're a little different, but overall it gives you a good workout. Here are some other equipment we have. This is a water analyzer. We use this, we put water samples in here from all over and test out the water to make sure we have bacteria growing, other stuff growing in the water that would be harmful to us. That's how we test it out. This is actually a container that has urine in it, and we get that from the Russians. And we put that then into our recycling system, our water recycling system. So first it goes into the urine processor, and then from there it goes into the water processor to make us drinking water. We're drinking the urine coming from these ones. This is actually a container that has urine in it, and we get that from the Russians. And we put that then into our recycling system, our water recycling system. So first it goes into the urine processor, and then from there it goes into the water processor to make us drinking water. We're drinking the urine coming from these ones.
Recycling system, or water recycling system. So first it goes into the urine processor, and then from there it goes into the water processor to make us drinking water. We're drinking the urine. We're drinking the urine coming from these ones. We also have here, it's called a WC, but if you know it, it's actually an outhouse, and really that's what it is. It's just a bathroom. And again, so the urine that we use in here also it gets recycled. And then
so we actually have quite a green little system up here. And we recycle quite a bit of all the fluids that are used up here, I guess. The condensation, our sweat, everything. It's
all set back into the system and used again. So for the bathroom, when they call the bathroom the can, there's a reason why we call it a can. Because here it is right here. There's a can. That definitely is a can full of crap, literally.
Full of crap, literally.
And so that's what happens. You can sit here when you want to use it for that version of it. And basically there's a little bit of suction that comes down there to help keep pretty much the smell from coming up and everything else from coming up while you're using it. And we use little packets here that fit into the hole that fits on top here. These packets go in here. You use one of these packets, of course, and when you're done with the packet, you wrap it up and push it back in there. And about every 8-9 days, that becomes full, and we put a new one in. That also gets then thrown down in the PMM for our trash, and hopefully on a cargo vehicle, it's all done. It's going to burn up on the way in. We put those on there, and it's done. For urination, you got to go there. Of course, that's why it's yellow. It's a standard. It's a suction. Basically, there's almost like a wet back in the back here. That's the way I look at it. And so it separates. It has suction on it, and it separates the water and the air inside there, and the urine in the air. And the urine, of course, goes to the urine processor. The air gets a little bit filtered and sent back out again. And that's the way. So it's a nice system. It actually works quite well. We had some issues early on, but now it's been working really, really well. Knock on wood. Exactly for that. We're happy about that. Yeah, but you know, it's a robust system. It's not complicated. It was probably built 40 some years ago, or designed, and it still seems to work pretty well. Yeah, we're happy with it. So actually, we're drinking the urine coming from these ones. It has urine in it, and we get that from the Russians.
Taking a pee on the space shuttle was pretty quick and easy. The hose came with an attachment that you would put on, which was a funnel. So everyone had their own. We didn't share funnels, and it was in a little compartment, and you'd open up the compartment, and there would be the 7 funnels, and you would take the appropriate one and attach it to the urine collection hose, and then you would turn the system on. What it does is it creates a little airflow so that it'll take the liquid down the hose and into the tank. And when that tank reached a level that it was full, we would do a urine dump out into space. It would do a urine dump out into space. It would kind of crystallize and disappear more or less in the vacuum of space. So it was okay to dump urine out there. If the sun was shining, it would shine through the dumped urine and you'd see kind of like a rainbow effect, and that was kind of cool.
And they shall pollute it.
We would do a urine dump out into space.
And they shall pollute it. My face will I turn also from them.
So it was okay to dump urine out there.
And they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it.
Taking a pee on the space shuttle.
Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none.
He made darkness his secret place.
And they shall pollute it.
We would do a urine dump out into space.
He made darkness his secret place.
It would kind of crystallize and disappear more or less in the vacuum of space. So it was okay to dump urine out there.
His pavilion, round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies.
Do you even believe in God? Do you believe God sits in his throne above the earth, like Isaiah 66:1 says? Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? And where is the place of my rest?
As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty, but they made the images of their abominations and of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them, and I will give it into the hands of the strangers for a prey, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. And they shall pollute it. My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none.
He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub, and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion, round about him were dark waters, and thick clouds of the skies.
My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber.
And they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it.
But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them.
Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station.
There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast.
You're a neuroscience company, and you're working to build basically an interface to the brain.
Yeah. Electrode to neuron interface at a micro level is obvious. Micro level.
Okay, what is it? Like, I have like a plug in my head that's gonna fit into a hard drive? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires. Micro level. Yeah.
This would be implanted surgically?
It's obvious. Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
And it would do what? Could you input? Could you download Jim?
Yeah. It's obvious. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires. Yeah. Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Okay, so
this is very esoteric.
Yeah, when will I be able to get the interface implant?
Micro level.
When will I be able to get the interface implant?
Like children in a playground. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes. It's obvious.
And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast.
Have a settle. So I'm sitting here in the pilot seat. And pull that down. So we've aimed for something with the Dragon version 2 for the interfaces and for the overall aesthetic of something that's very clean, very simple, and so as the pilot, you were able to interact with the screens overhead, control the spacecraft, and then we've got all of the critical functions that are needed in an emergency situation as manual buttons. So that's what you see in this area here. Yep. Yeah. Oh. All right, that's all a lot easier in 0G, by the way. So there you have it, Dragon version 2, capable of carrying up to 7 astronauts, propulsively landing almost anywhere in the world, and something that's designed, as I said, to be fully reusable. So you can fly this multiple times, allowing for potential dramatic reduction in the cost of access to space. Thank you.
Hawthorne, this is Dragon. Falcon has placed us in orbit and trajectory looks good.
Copy that. We see the same. Time to next Delta V is 1 hour.
Quite the ride.
Yeah. Quite the view.
In the 50th year, in the 7th month, on the 14th day of the month of the life of Enoch, in that parable, I saw how the heaven of heavens was shaken violently, and the host of the Most High and the angels, 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000, were extremely disturbed. And then I saw the head of days sitting on the throne of his glory, and the angels and righteous were sitting around him. And a great trembling seized me, and fear took hold of me, and my loins collapsed and gave way, and my whole being melted, and I fell upon my face. And the holy Michael sent another holy angel, one of the holy angels, and he raised me. And when he raised me, my spirit returned, for I had been unable to endure the sight of that host, and the disturbance, and the shaking of heaven. And the holy Michael said to me, What sight has disturbed you like this? Until today has the day of his mercy lasted, and he has been merciful and long-suffering towards those who dwell upon the dry ground. And in those days the angels will gather together, and will throw themselves towards the east. Upon the Parthians and Medes they will stir up the kings, so that a disturbing spirit will come upon them, and they will drive them from their thrones, and they will come out like lions from their lairs, and like hungry wolves in the middle of their flocks. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And they will go up and trample on the land of my chosen ones. And the land of my chosen ones will become before them a tramping ground and a beaten track. Tramping ground and a beaten track. But the city of my righteous ones will be a hindrance to their horses, and they will stir up slaughter amongst themselves, and their own right hand will be strong against them. And a man will not admit to knowing his neighbor, or his brother, nor a son his father, or his mother, until, through their death, there are corpses enough, and their punishment it will not be in vain. And in those days Sheol will open its mouth, and they will sink into it, and their destruction. Sheol will swallow up the sinners in front of the faces of the chosen. And it came to pass after this, that I saw another host of chariots with men riding on them, and they came upon the wind from the east and from the west to the south. And the sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when this occurred, the holy ones observed it from heaven, and the pillars of the earth were shaken from their foundations, and the sound was heard from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven throughout the day. And all will fall down and worship the Lord of spirits. And this is the end of the second parable.
If I spin this can, we know that according to the equations of motion, that we would expect that if once this is given a spin. Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out. And we'll zoom our camera in slowly, get the most magnification we can. Over. Roger. Big Mike Collins. And it is sort of down in a dark corner, so we have a flashlight here to help us see things. And if I can let go of it carefully, it'll just hold itself right where it is. Roger. As long as it's there a bit, will. Apollo 11, Houston, that's a pretty good demonstration. You started out really stable there, Mike. It's, well, the problem is no matter how carefully you let go, you bump it just a tiny little bit, set it in motion, and once in motion, there she goes.
I bet you've seen pictures of the astronauts up in the space station, and they're floating around as if there's no gravity at all. And this is actually a really interesting misconception about what's going on with the astronauts. So it's not that they're weightless because they're in space and far away from the Earth. They're actually close enough to the Earth to feel the gravitational pull of the Earth itself. So what's going on? Why are they floating around? Well, this is what an orbit really is. We have to get spacecraft going very, very fast to put them into orbit. That's why we put them on rockets. Rockets launch spacecraft and get them going very, very fast. And if you're in orbit where the space station is, you're traveling at about 17,000 miles an hour. Now, what happens to those astronauts is that they're going very, very fast, but they're actually freely falling towards the Earth. The Earth has gravity, and that gravity is pulling them down, just the same as what would happen as if you dropped a ball. If you dropped a ball, it would fall to the floor. The same thing is happening to the astronauts. They are falling towards the surface of the Earth. They keep missing the Earth as they fall. And that's the definition of an orbit. That's what an orbit is. And that's why you need a rocket to get into orbit. You need to get yourself going so fast that as you fall back towards Earth, you keep missing it. So the astronauts are not weightless because there's no gravity in space. The astronauts are falling the same way a skydiver is falling freely through space. It's just that they're going so fast, they keep missing the Earth. They are all the time falling towards the Earth, going fast enough that they keep missing it. Everything that's in orbit around anything else is doing the same thing.
See things, and if I can let go of it carefully, it'll just hold itself right where it is.
Free fall to the moon. Spinning ball cartoon. I hope you guys get the point I'm trying to make. I see an inconsistency here. And it's a real one. When they are orbiting the Earth on Apollo 11 before they go to the moon, when they change their trajectory from that free fall orbit around the Earth, they have to go straight up towards the moon. So how do they free fall straight up? I have a lot better explanation, and I've been trying to explain it. I think of the Tower of Babel, and I think of Jasher 9. When they got to the top of the tower, they shot arrows and spears up at heaven to try to kill God. And what did God do? He sent the arrows down covered in blood to cause the wicked people to err. So I see that happening in 2019 right now in front of my face. I see idols being put up in God's tabernacle, in God's temple, and defiling it. And I'm trying to open your eyes.
Mach 21. Stand by, Mach 6. That's good. Engines are good. Okay. Mach 22. Bridge looks great. Thirty seconds. 30 seconds. Mach 25. Comes a bug. Fine count, throttle the engine. Idle. Gotcha. Welcome to space, guys. Nico. Nico confirmed. Nico confirmed. Helium interconnects are good. We have no phase down. Okay, standing by for SEP. What an amazing vehicle.
Columbia, you're a good spaceship. It likes it when you scratch it right underneath it. Good boy. Miles from home. We're breaking out of the heating here. I can see the sun on the horizon.
And it came to pass after this that I saw another host of
Welcome back. Well, we are headed out of this world, literally.
In an environment that was never originally designed for humans, or humans were not designed for this environment. It's such a special place to live. You know, we're not up here visiting space. We are up here living in space. If you told me that I was born here and everything on Earth was just a dream, that I might almost start believing you. Because we are so at home up here, and that is something so special that hopefully a perspective that I'll bring back to Earth with me. You know, I really love being up here in space. I really love living here and working here. And I think if I could have my friends and family visit, I might just stay forever.
You guys weren't around 50 years ago when Neil Armstrong stepped out onto the moon. And I'm always curious from your perspective up there, how do you view Apollo and the progress that's been made since then?
When we think back to Apollo, we see a generation of people that were motivated by doing something challenging, something bigger than themselves, and something that took an entire nation to come together to achieve. And that's the same force that still drives NASA today, and
Apollo.
That drives us, indeed, even on an individual level here up in the space station.
Apollo.
And certainly drives the teams down on the ground that we work with every day.
Apollo.
So I think looking back, I see that same spirit carried through.
Apollo.
But I see commemorating the 50th anniversary as a way to recommit to that spirit.
Apollo.
A way to recommit to taking on the big challenges. And indeed, that's exactly what we're doing with returning to the moon in 2024, continuing to push the barriers.
Let me ask you guys one last question, and I want to go back to Artemis real quick.
To be able to walk in the footsteps or the spacesuit bootsteps of our heroes.
Great talking to you as well, and we'll see you back Earthside. I launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. It is a really special experience to have the opportunity to represent humankind by living in low Earth orbit. And that's what we're doing in space right now. We are living on the International Space Station in an environment that was never originally designed for humans, or humans were not designed for this environment. And so we live in this, the space station is about 3,500 square feet of livable space. This is what happens when humans are united through a goal of exploration and bettering our communities. This is what we're capable of internationally.
You have the Apollo 11 moon landing.
But you will be up there for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landing. Just reflect on what that moment meant to what you're doing now and what it meant for human innovation.
I think at the time it was a moment where the entire world united and stood in awe, observing not only the accomplishments that humanity could do when it came together, but the sheer awe of the celestial aspects of the fact that humans were standing on the moon.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder.
It's just extraordinary, real amazing. That is just extraordinary.
I think that it showed us that we, as humans, love to do great things together and to take on great challenges. I remember that same spirit motivates NASA today.
Apollo.
It motivates each of us every single day that we are here on board.
Apollo 11.
We're really looking forward to paying homage to our heroes that have inspired us throughout our lives, those people that were involved in that mission and that made it happen and made it reality.
Apollo 11.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CNN portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Our State Magazine.
What's it like to look down and see the Earth from a place that maybe you, as a kid, you spend a lot of time looking up from?
That's exactly right. You know, North Carolina was where I was when the sky inspired me to seek the career path that I'm on right now. And now, interestingly, I look down on the place where I'm from and I find inspiration there. When the coastal area of North Carolina kind of came into focus around the horizon the first time I saw it, it did take my breath away, because suddenly the places I called familiar, the places I had seen on a map a million times, picking out where I'm from, the waterways that I would use to find Jacksonville on the map were all there, and they were real. They weren't on a paper map or on a computer screen. They were on the earth, and that was a very, very poignant moment for me. One of the things that I wanted to express about that in particular with coastal North Carolina is the ocean is one of the first things that I look to for inspiration, because in addition to the night sky and the beauty of the universe, the ocean is another thing that makes us feel small and ponder our place in the universe, and kind of ignites that spirit of wonder and exploration.
Apollo 11.
As astronauts, we always talk about perspective. We have this unique vantage point looking back at the Earth and looking out at our solar system. And a lot of times what strikes me is really throughout the history of humanity how lucky I was and we were to be born at this time when we can explore space. You know, if we had been born 100 years before, we wouldn't be in space. We wouldn't be where we are right now. And so thinking about 50 years, it seems like a long time, but it was just yesterday that we were putting people in space for the first time and putting boots on the moon for the first time.
Apollo 11
was only just over 100 years that we took to flight for the first time. I mean, the last 100 some odd years has been just absolutely incredible in the technology development in flight and in space flight. And I cannot imagine where it's going to be in 50 years. For me personally, I am so proud to hold this baton for the short period that I have it. I want to provide as much as I can to our nation and to our world in space exploration, and then proudly hand that baton to the next person to continue this amazing human endeavor of space exploration.
In ACR, that concludes the event.
Thank you, CNN and Our State Magazine, station.
Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it. And every one that sweareth shall be cut off, as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts. And it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name.
Booster separation confirmed.
Over the cheering in the background, it's going on midnight, but a lot of people here at SpaceX, side boosters have separated. They're getting ready for their burn back to Cape Canaveral. You can see on the left and right views, the side boosters have ignited. The center core continues under full power. Everything looking good on the Falcon Heavy. Next event coming up in about 15 seconds will be shutdown of the center core, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. Good views of the two side boosters under the thrust of 3 engines each, slowing down their velocity and coming back towards Cape Canaveral. We have shutdown on the center core.
Now those side boosters are making their way back. Their grid fins on all 3 boosters should be deployed, and those are help guiding them to their landing zones. As a reminder, today we will be attempting to recover all 3 of these first stages, and all 3 boosters are currently making their way home. In just a few minutes, the side boosters will execute an entry burn followed by a landing burn, and the center core will complete the same burns just a few minutes later. Both burns are used to slow the stage's speed down rapidly before landing.
At the time of separation, the side boosters were traveling slow enough to turn around and make their way back to land at our side-by-side landing pads. The center core is going too fast to efficiently return to the Cape, so we're using our autonomous drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, as we mentioned earlier. As a reminder, our drone ship is positioned twice as far offshore than normal, so we may not get visuals of landing tonight. Also coming up in a few minutes will be the call out for second engine cutoff. So coming up in about a minute here, we're going to look for that side booster reentry burn to begin. Shortly after that, that should end about 20 seconds later.
These great beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth.
You can see both of those boosters on the infrared camera on the left side of your screen.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high.
Again, about 30 seconds until we expect those side boosters' entry burn to begin. So keep an eye on the left side of your screen.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
In about 10 seconds, we should see those side boosters reignite for their entry burn.
But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Side booster entry burn startup.
And we have confirmation that the entry burn has begun. And in about 15 seconds from now, we expect that to end. Oh, wow.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
Almost at the same time. So we're going to have a few events in succession at about T plus 8 minutes and 21 seconds.
For God hath put in their hearts
Both side booster FTS is safe.
to fulfill his will and to agree
Stage 2 FTS is safe. And terminal guidance.
and give their kingdom unto the beast.
About 20 seconds, we're going to look for that side booster landing burn to begin on both boosters.
Side boosters transonic.
Until the words of God shall be fulfilled.
About 10 seconds away.
And behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Side booster landing burn startup.
We've heard the call out for side booster landing burn start.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, ye shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire, 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 and burn her with fire.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
I'm Don Pettit, NASA astronaut. I'm an angry pig, and I stole the International Space Station. Space Station is a serious place. We're doing pig research. We have a regenerative life support system, which is a fancy way of saying serious research, scientific research, that we've got a research toilet that you use, and then a machine that goes chugga 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 chug, and then you go to the galley and you make yourself a cup of coffee. Serious research, scientific research, and that's exactly what you are thinking it is.
But water is such a precious resource up here that we also are cleaning up our urine and making it drinkable, and it's really not as bad as it sounds.
Better you than me.
We even recycle our urine.
Pig.
But before you cringe at the thought of drinking your leftover wash water and your leftover urine,
chugga 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 chug.
This is the kind of engineering research that we're doing on Space Station. I want to do some physics demonstrations. Chugga 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 chug. Some eggs. And don't ask me how I got to eggs on Space Station. I've got a bungee spread across the hatchway. Serious research, scientific research, And this bungee is kind of like a slingshot. And I'm going to show the trajectory that Redbird is going to have when I fire him with this orbital slingshot. Launching Redbird into space. Well, hey, we're already into space. Chugga, 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 chug. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, all the way down. Guess what? Chugga, 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 chug. Chugga, 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 chug. Chugga, 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 chug. And if you understand the math, if you understand the physics, it will allow you to go out and get angry humans where you're an astronaut and you can fly in space. Angry humans playing games. This is all that's left of Pig after Pig got exploded. Chugga, 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 chug. Chugga, 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 chug. Chugga, 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 chug.